Hello everyone, I am Minivate, and this is Shifted Reality, Season 1, Episode 20. Like and subscribe to help me on my journey. Because I've been having less time in real life to spend on the server, I would decide I'm going to try and do some smaller projects that I can hopefully record and get out quicker videos. So today we are going to start with this hallway. While I generally like the overall layout of it, like I love the birch wood next to the mangrove planks on lower slabs, allow me to both have the wood trim but also making it look like there's red carpet, because as you know, if you put red carpet on a lower slab, it kind of floats in the air. So this allows me to give the illusion of a red carpet without actually doing it. I don't actually care too much how these walls came out, because I was hoping for a bit more of a smoother, just generally gray vibe, and the large square bricks are just a little too uniform, a little too standoffish. The half slab pillar look kind of breaks it up a little bit. This having blocks behind it to give it additional texture kind of helps, but unless if I go and do something in every single one of these rooms, it's just not going to look very right. So we are going to look at improving this hallway today. So while I like to use lower half slabs in order to create this kind of wood grain trim look effect in hallways and such, it does present some unique design challenges. So if you just put in an object, unless if it's a gravity fed object such as an armor stand, it's going to have that gap underneath of it. And of course, if you tear up the floor and just raise that section up, then it doesn't have the gap, but then it looks weird. It's like, why does the floor, raise right there in that corner? So sometimes you just gotta get a little creative, and since I'm trying to put a pot down, a little plain terracotta does give the look that maybe the pot's just a little bigger than it is and fits in. Doesn't look like it's part of the floor. And then we can do our standard decorations from there. I'm feeling it's a little too tall. There we go. Now we have a potted plant in the corner. And I'm actually going to... There we go, that looks nice. And now that I'm looking at it, yeah, I might put a second one right here. There we go. The hallway's looking better already. So I like this so much on the other side I decided to do it again. It makes a nice framing device and breaks up the wall as you are approaching and coming down. And then I decided to try looking at the use of some pictures with just the wall itself as its framing, not adding the extra pots I have down there. And overall, I think it more or less works. This one, I'm not sure if I want extra ones on here. I think this hallway, I might take it out and do something different with these walls, though. And whatever I do with those walls, I'm going to have to kind of mimic with this wall. Because I think if I start putting pictures on both sides, it's just going to become a little bit too noisy. And honestly, there's only so many pictures available in Minecraft, so let's see what we can change up here. I don't know. Do you think that's better? I'm not sure if I like that. Part of the reason why I'm doing the different depths with the walls versus the solid blocks is because I'm trying to create a sense that this part of the castle is very well maintained and doesn't have that ruined look that texturizing typically does. However, as we can see here, even with a little but you were still getting too large of a sections. And short of maybe adding more of these dividers, which I'm not really sure if that works either because, the hallway is pretty even. I'm trying to find a texture or a change I can make that allows me to have both the newer, well-maintained look, but also match up with, but also match up with the overall aesthetic of the design I'm going for. Okay, so I tried a couple different options here, and I wasn't really liking anything. I tried changing the bottom block, but it looked noisy next to the wood trim. I tried to add pinstripes, but that didn't look right because it's a even space, not an odd space, and just nothing was really working for me. And suddenly I got an idea of something I never really tried before. What if the problem is, in fact, that it is too flat, but I don't want to add any center mass pillars, but instead come along and add some trapdoors. See, now that I like. I like that a lot. It changes up it just enough to draw the eye away from the repeating pattern, but not so drastic that it becomes distracting. And of course, I don't mean on this side because this side has the paintings to do that job. And so now we don't have the repetition on either side as well. This side here has smaller gaps. I don't think it's going to be necessary. But let's get it in on this side. And there we go, all done. I don't think any more really needs to be done with this hallway. Again, you don't want to make things too busy. Sometimes just keeping it plain and simple is the way. And I like how this generally turned out. Oh, I think I'm going to put in a armor stand right here. This little cubby hole just feels like it should have an armor stand. But other than that, I just need to find a new simple project to go with our next and finish up this episode. This is working great. So one of our new members has asked for help on making a clay farm. So I am just down here collecting some dripstone to help him out for that. At its most basic, making a clay farm is just making a space for drying out massive amounts of mud. Now, to get the massive amounts of mud, you need to make a mud farm, which requires some redstone. But we'll get there. Alright, so Thunder Player over there does not have, basically has nothing. No resources whatsoever. And so I went back to my base, got some additional supplies, and now I gotta try and remember how I build one of these. So you need a piston, and when you place your dirt block, that needs to create a power line. So I place that, and that will power this, which will power our piston. Yep. And then let's see, it needs a dispenser. I think I have everything I need in here. So that's an observer. All right, dispenser. Let's just get a couple bottles for testing. Now, I am trying to make this as simple as possible for him. One of the things you can do is you can create a loop with a hopper and a water source and another dispenser to refill your bottles and bring them back around in a circle to keep it full. But we're just making this basic. So if we place this, yep, then it gets dispensed and turned into mud. Oh, maybe I am going to have to put on a loop on this because it's not dropping the bottles. Oh, but that loop is so expensive because in order to make the loop, you have to do you basically have to have every single spot filled up with bottles. So only bottles are going down and into it. And it's not draining out your water bottles. No, wait. It will drop the water bottles if the system is entirely full of water bottles, I believe. I think. Oh, I see. Every once in a while it's spitting out the excess water bottles. Got it. Alright, so this is the limit. So then if there's a thing here, and it reaches here, then this will power. Okay, so what it's doing is without a discharge loop, it is occasionally trying to dispense a empty bottle instead of a water bottle, and then that's when it gets kicked out to me. And when it does that, we end up with just plain dirt. Alright, so to fully automate this, I need a hopper to take the empty bottles out of the dispenser, load it down into another dispenser here, which dispenses it out, which uses the water which then the dispenser will collect the water from a water source right here. But being full of bottles, they'll have no choice but to spit it out, which then goes into the water, which has a water elevator, comes up, and the water elevator washes it back down into a hopper that drops it back into this chest. I don't have all that stuff for that right now. It probably would take me too long to get it, but, gotta let him have some things. So how this works is pretty simple. Again, you saw the dirt goes over here, which then becomes a power line that powers both the dispenser and the piston. Pushing it along here, once it gets down to here, it will then power back, and it should power every single one of these pistons, pushing it back out. So then you just stand here, and you just load it up. And again, because I don't have a return on the water bottles, it's not perfectly efficient. But it will have to do until Thunder Player gets a few more resources. But as you can see, every time it fills up, it gets pushed out. And you can see how inefficient it is right now. But it will get better once he collects the additional resources I told him he needs to fully automate it. And hopefully he will decorate and build a building around this to make it look better. So yeah, again, every time you see it just put out dirt, it's because it's just dropping a empty bottle instead of using a water bottle. So while I was editing the footage of me helping Thunder Player build a mud farm and clay farm for his base, I realized there's actually a much simpler way to make this more efficient, even though it still requires the manual feeding of the bottles. So you simply put, we have all the slots of the hopper underneath filled up with empty water bottles, which will prevent any full water bottles from going through. So when we come through here and we place our thing down, it goes, and turns it to mud, we still have a full dispenser of water bottles, but down below, the empty one empties out right away. And that way, you can just quickly push through, and it will just keep on feeding, and every single block will turn to mud. What happened here? Oop. And that is, of course, until such a time as it runs out of water bottles. Then he'll just need to come in here, grab the stack that is in there, make sure 5 remain, and go refill his water bottles. And now, so long as he maintains his hopper full of 5 empty bottles, which I will let him know over Discord, he will be able to have his farm working and not skipping any dirt blocks. No. Well, I guess that's why they always say never to do the first time building a redstone contraption on camera, because sometimes the simplest solutions will just simply evade you and you'll look like you're doing something wrong. But we got there in the end. But that was 2 projects done, 2 small bite-sized projects that I was easily able to fit in between real life obligations. And let's be honest, this was kind of a fun episode. It was a little bit of decorating, a little bit of redstone, and more importantly, we helped a new member of our server to get started with the building materials he needs for his base that he is working on. And of course, if you would like to join the server, all you have to do is send an email to me. My contact information is in the channel description, and I will send you back a link to our Discord server where you can meet the server owner, Real Egg, and agree not to break any of the rules, and then you can join in on the server yourself. Maybe even start making your own YouTube channel. And as always, like and subscribe, and see you next time. Bye, everyone.